Hello, and welcome back to the Choose UCalgary Podcast. As always, I'm your Season 8 host, Karah, and today we're sitting down with Zainab, the coordinator for the Pathways to Medicine Scholarship Program. Keep listening to learn more. Thank you for coming on the Choose UCalgary podcast today. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No worries. So I think just to get going, we're going to do a quick introduction of yourself and your title and your role at the University of Calgary and how you support prospective students.
For sure. So my name is Zainab Malik. I am a proud alumna of the University of Calgary. I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in International Relations a few years ago, let's say. And ever since then, I've been working at the University of Calgary wearing a number of different hats, mostly with student support, student success, and growth of the institution as a whole. So now I am lucky to be the program coordinator for Pathways to Medicine, which is an amazing scholarship program.
Nice. Awesome. And so speaking about the Pathways to Medicine Scholarship Program, are you able to speak a little bit about what that program is and kind of its main goals for prospective students?
Absolutely. So the Pathways to Medicine Scholarship Program is housed in the Cummings School of Medicine, the medical school at the University of Calgary. And the whole point is to provide equitable opportunities for all students who are looking to become future physicians at the University of Calgary. There's a lot of students that come from underrepresented communities, and it is really difficult to go into medical school. And so the Pathways to Medicine Scholarship Program was created to make sure that everyone has an equal playing field to get into medicine.
Okay, nice, yeah. So kind of speaking to what pool of students the program is working to target, are you able to delve into a little bit more depth on like underrepresented groups and like what that pool of students is that you're pulling from?
For sure. So we're looking for students who are graduating high school in Alberta, and the underrepresented groups that are traditionally not seen in a medical school are students from rural Alberta, students who have Indigenous ancestry, and those from lower income families, so lower socioeconomic backgrounds. What we're looking for when it comes to lower socioeconomic backgrounds as well is students whose parents have a bachelor's degree, but they don't necessarily have a higher education, which means, they don't have a master's degree, a PhD, LLB, Usually when students' parents have those kinds of degrees, they generally do have a higher income, so it doesn't really mesh with that. But obviously life happens, things can change. So if a student is in that situation or that scenario, they're welcome to email me, and then we can chat about their eligibility.
Okay, perfect, yeah. So, a little bit more into what the Pathways to Medicine program provides undergraduate students. Are you able to talk a little bit more about the different supports and things that students would get throughout their undergraduate degree to prepare them to go into medical school?
For sure. So I think when you're asking the program coordinator versus the students in Pathways, they probably have much more to say about what they actually receive from the program, which is great. But just a quick overview of what we provide. Number one is tuition coverage. And so overall for a 4-year bachelor's degree, we're providing $20,000. $20,000 broken down into the 4 years is about $5,000 per year. And that goes directly into the student's bank account, so within their student center, and the rest of the tuition to be paid off, by loans, other scholarships and awards, hopefully, or by themselves. We also provide support with preparing for the MCAT exam, so the exam to get into medical school. So not only is it a prep course, we also provide funds and cover the payment of the exam itself, and that can be very expensive. Adding up, that can be around 3,000 Canadian dollars. So that's a lot right there that we are kind of breaking down that barrier. We provide mentorship, so we have a student mentor as well as a faculty mentor. So student mentors is really great. Now that we've had a few cohorts go through the program, for a student in first year, they'll be connected with a student in fourth year from the program.
Yep.
So their first year is, supported with a mentor within Pathways to Medicine. And with the University of Calgary having a 3-year program in medical school, the next 3 years they kind of transition to their medical school mentor, which is great. And then there's also the faculty mentors. We have wonderful faculty members within the Cummings School of Medicine that have donated their time to support students that we've talked about, so the underrepresented students within our community to get into medical school. And one of the biggest things that I do want to mention is that we have an enrichment program. So what that means is, and that's kind of my biggest part here, where we kind of get together 2 to 3 times a month, and we'll have seminars and workshops on a variety of different things. That can be public speaking, interview skills, creative or, impactful writing, and cultural competency. And so it's wonderful to see how much students grow from that extra enrichment series on top of them going into their classes, extracurriculars that they're doing to really be prepared for medical school.
Yeah, it's kind of like rounding out all of those really important skills that maybe students wouldn't think that they would need.
Exactly.
To go into medical school.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah. Putting their best foot forward before they actually enter medical school is great. Yeah.
Yeah. So now kind of hearing about how amazing this program is and the different supports that students can get, I'm sure they're all wondering how they can apply for and be accepted into the Pathways to Medicine Scholarship Program. So are you able to speak a little bit on that?
So the answer I'm about to give may seem a little long-winded, but please don't be intimidated. It does replicate the application process of getting into medical school. And I will say that everything that I'm about to say is on our website as well through our application manual. So any student that is interested in P2M, please do check out our application manual and feel free to email me for some clarifications as well if needed. So first things first is that students need to apply to the University of Calgary, applying to their program choice number 1 and 2. And then after that, they'll have access to the awards application, which they can find on their student center under financials, I believe. And from there, near the end of the application, students are going to find a checkbox that says or indicating I am interested in the Pathways to Medicine Scholarship Program. That's all they have to do, all right? Even if you're not going to be applying to P2M, please fill this out. There's so much money out there to be won that I recommend every single student that I talk to fill it out before March 1st, all right? After March 1st, Pathways to Medicine will receive a list of every single student that has indicated interest in our program. We'll send out a preliminary application via email. Within that preliminary application, there's a few things that we'll need to fill out. So number 1 is your basic information about yourself, about your family, your familial income. Number 2, we're going to ask for a personal essay. And I know a lot of students kind of get intimidated by that too, but by essay, it's 250 words max, so kind of like half a page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not an essay. Yeah. Indicating, what is your situation, why you want to get into medicine, and how this scholarship can help you get there. We're going to be looking at your current high school grades that you can just download from MyPass. And then we're also going to be looking at a nomination letter, all right? All that said and done, after the deadline for the preliminary application, we have a group assembled that are going to be evaluating the applications that have come in. And then we cut that list down to about 10 to 12 students or 10 to 12 applicants. And then from there, this is the process that really does mimic the UME, so undergraduate medical education, where you're going to be looking at a few things. So top 10 experiences. These are experiences that can be good, bad, happy, sad, that have shaped you into the person you are today and kind of have helped guide you into, why you want to go into medicine. Number 2, we're going to be looking at a list of your awards and recognition that you've done, in high school mostly. We're also going to be looking for 3 reference letters. And that's all indicated in the application manual, but who they are, what we're going to be doing, and we'll also email that out. And then lastly, we are looking at the MMIs, so the interviews to get into medicine, which is multiple mini interviews. And so think of it as a circuit of interviews that you're going to have about 8 to 10 different rooms or stations, and each station or room has a different scenario or tasks that you need to complete. And so when it comes to the Pathways to Medicine interviews that we're going to be doing, we're going to be in the medical skills lab at the Cummings School of Medicine, and we'll have 8 different rooms available for you. And each one will have a different scenario on, whether it's an ethical scenario or it'll be a acting scenario. So we'll have our senior students take part where they can play a role of, whatever it is, the disgruntled neighbor or, those kinds of things to put you on the spot. It's really to just see how you can communicate your thoughts and kind of put them in a succinct manner within a stressful situation, right? And so it's a really great way to learn who you are and learn a little bit more about students. And of course, our questions are not going to be as difficult or daunting as the ones for medical school, because we understand that, we have students coming from high school into university, not bachelor's, after 4 years of learning about themselves, getting into medical school. And so it's a really, really cool way to interview students, and it really does help them understand what to expect in the future.
Yeah, definitely. So just kind of looking at, how this program is set apart from other awards that students can apply for in that high school entrance awards scholarship. What are the big pieces that you think set this award apart and make it one that students should really apply for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the University of Calgary has so many awards, bursaries, scholarships available to students. They just have to apply. But I think the nature of what Pathways to Medicine is just really takes it to another level and just really separates us from anyone else. So our goal is to support students who are generally underrepresented within the medical school classes. And so we want to make sure that we're providing the medical school with a diverse population that truly reflects the population of Alberta. And so that within itself, and the things that we provide, so when it comes to tuition coverage, MCAT coverage, we've curated a whole new program for the MMIs itself for students in Pathways, the enrichment series, as well as the mentorship. There's so much that we provide that is different, that the students gain so much out of it, and they're truly prepared for medical school. So I think the nature of what our program stands for and what we're trying to do really separates us from everyone else.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like it's a really, really cool program that really tries to highlight the different ways to kind of diversify the medical field a little bit.
And I just want to say that every single student that we have in Pathways is so thankful for being there, and just so hardworking and just so wonderful to be around, that I am so excited for them to become future physicians, because the province of Alberta would be so lucky to have them.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole goal of the program.
Exactly.
It's to just make the perfect doctors, basically.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So I know we kind of talked about this a little bit at the start, but what are some skills that students will develop by being a part of the Pathways to Medicine scholarship program? So any specific ones that stand out that might set them apart from somebody who didn't take place in Pathways to Medicine?
So with our enrichment series, we really curate the program to what a student would need to be the best they possibly can before they enter medical school. So a lot of our programs, not only are we talking about public speaking, leadership skills, we're talking about self-care, self-awareness. We're also looking at cultural competency. And so the beauty of P2M is that we're coming together. We have so much support within the University of Calgary and our outer community as well to come and speak to our students who are going to be future physicians. So all of those things when it comes to empathy, cultural competency, communication, leadership, and the list goes on.
Have you received an offer to the University of Calgary? Do you want to explore campus and connect with your future faculty representatives? Come and join us on April 6, 2024 for You at UCalgary, your event for all things UCalgary future students. Details about how to register will be emailed to all those eligible to attend. It mentions clinical shadowing experiences within the Cummings School of Medicine for students who receive this scholarship. Are you able to speak more about what this would look like in the program?
Absolutely. So one really big thing that I love about the University of Calgary is that we really do focus on experiential learning, and when it comes to shadowing experiences through Pathways too, we do exactly that. So we have a lot of different faculty mentors within the Cummings School of Medicine, and so each experience will be different. Some faculty members are within the research labs. Other faculty mentors will be in the OR, so the operating rooms. So you never really know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
But I will say that every experience is different. You're going to get a lot out of whatever experience you go through. But I do want to talk about one student that we have in Pathways that was really interested in anesthesia. And so he wanted to go into anesthesiology. And so we were able to find an anesthesiologist to help provide a shadowing experience. So the student not only was able to go into the lab and learn about the background of but we were also able to find an opportunity for him to go into the OR, so the operating room, which was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so depending on what your interests are, who the faculty mentors are, there's a long list of individuals that you can shadow and what that experience would look like, that there's no cookie cutter experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all very specific to the student and like what they're interested
Exactly,
in.
exactly.
So cool. That is super cool.
Yeah.
And then I know we talked a little bit about the enrichment program, but was there anything in particular about that program that you'd like to highlight that students really, really gain a lot from before they go into medicine?
Absolutely. So we talked about, meeting 2 to 3 times a month and for different seminars and workshops, which is great. I do want to say that when it comes to specific skills, we talked about communication before, we talked about cultural competency, but that's kind of what I want to highlight. So last year, we created a new seminar series called Faith in Medicine, where we were able to invite faith leaders from the Faith and Spirituality Center from all different backgrounds to come and talk to our students about the intersectionality of medicine and religion and faith, which was so great. So not only were students exposed to different religions and belief systems, we also had faculty members that were practicing within that specific faith or religion come and join to talk about their experiences as a religious or spiritual person within that one realm and what that meant as a practicing doctor at the Cummings School of Medicine. So it was really great for the students to understand the faith in medicine aspect of sciences,
Yeah.
And so it was really terrific where they learned a lot more about cultural competency, empathy, and understanding and communicating with people from different faiths and backgrounds, which was great. So that was one of my favorite enrichment programs or enrichment series that we did in Pathways.
Yeah, that's super cool that you were able to collaborate with the Faith and Spirituality Center on that. That's really nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. So now just kind of moving more into the awards criteria. So these are kind of the more specifics of getting or being eligible for the Pathways to Medicine program. So what are the different scholarship criteria students would need to meet to be considered for the Pathways to Medicine scholarship program?
Yeah, great question. So we're going to be looking at students, number one, who have a desire and passion to go into medicine and become future physicians within Alberta. Number two, we're going to be looking at students that have generally higher grades in high school. So we're going to be looking at, English, math, sciences, their interests really to get into medicine with higher high school marks. Number three, we're going to be looking at, their extracurriculars. What you do inside the classroom absolutely matters. What you do outside the classroom equally matters. So we're going to be looking at what your extracurriculars are. Are you volunteering? Are you, part of sports? Are you active in your high school campus? Like, what is it that you're doing that makes you unique and your own person? So we're going to be looking at a lot of different things. So those are top 3 things that we're going to be looking at.
Okay, yeah, perfect. And then, are there any specific undergraduate programs that students will need to enter in order to join the Pathways to Medicine program?
This is my favorite question. I get it a lot, and it absolutely is my favorite question. So one thing to note before I get into it is that the University of Calgary's Cummings School of Medicine does not have a pre-med program. Okay, so the University of Calgary does not have a required program that you need to get into before you get into medical school. And I like to just start off with that because a lot of students right away think that I need to go into an honors program. I have to go into the Bachelor of Health Sciences program because I will easily get into medicine. But that's not really the case, right? Every student is different. So my biggest piece of advice for students is that choose a program that you're actually interested in. The more you're interested in a program, the better you're going to do. You're going to work harder, you're going to study more, you're going to be more interested, right, in the program that you're in, and that's how you're going to get the higher marks to get into medical school. One thing I do want to note as well is that the University of Calgary's medical school is really looking for diversity, right? They're looking for students from different backgrounds, not only from who they are as people, but their education as well. So the way that a future physician is going to be connecting with a patient who's in, maybe sociology or psychology will definitely be different than the way that someone is going to be connecting with a patient who's in engineering or kinesiology, let's say. So make sure that as a student, you are choosing a program that you're interested in. With the Pathways to Medicine program, we really do our best to help you grow personally and professionally, to put your best foot forward to get into medical school. And so if you're interested in the program, you're going to work harder. And the med school usually looks for 4 main things. And number 1 is your GPA. So again, you're interested, you're going to do a good job. Number 2 is your top 10 experiences. So your extracurriculars, what you're doing, what has shaped you into the person you are. They're going to be looking at your full-on application, which includes your MCAT score. So making sure that you do a great job on the MCAT. And lastly is your interviews. So again, throughout your undergraduate degree, you're going to be growing as a person. You're going to learn how to communicate your feelings and thoughts a lot better and more eloquently to get into medical school, and that's what they're really looking for. So those are the 4 main things that we're doing. So extracurriculars, marks, MCAT score, interview skills. And so whatever you think that would help you the most, choose that program.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the big thing for students interested in medicine. We find that we get that question a lot too, coming from the recruitment office, and it's always the same answer. There's no pre-med program, just choose something that you like.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Yeah. I get it a lot, and it honestly is my favorite question to answer, because every single student is different. Every single student is unique, and that's the beauty of medicine as well, is that as a future doctor, you're going to be unique in the way that you support your patients compared to someone else in another degree that they had their, preliminary practicing and education in. So it's great. That's why we're so diverse.
Yeah, it's so cool. And then I know you briefly mentioned the nomination letter kind of at the start. So I just want to kind of ask a couple of questions just about that one. So for the nomination letter, what would be a great example of an individual who could nominate a student, and then what makes a competitive nomination letter?
Good question. So when it comes to the nomination letter, we want to make sure it's someone that truly knows who you are. So when I say that, I mean if you volunteered at a place for 30 minutes and the person in charge doesn't really know you, they're not going to do a great job in sharing who you are as a person, what your goals and desires are for the future. So I would really recommend students connect with someone that they truly have worked with or have grown to know in the 3 years of high school, whether that's within your high school campus community, that's your extracurricular community where you're volunteering or part of sports, or a religious community as well. So anyone that can really speak to who you are would be a great nominator. That can be a principal, a coach, a religious leader. And what makes a strong nomination letter is someone who can speak to actual examples, right? We've seen a lot of reference letters or nomination letters that are kind of general in their speaking about a student. So this student is passionate. This student is great. That's wonderful, and I'm sure it is. But having those direct examples of what the student did, let's say in grade 11, this student fundraised for this humanitarian cause, and I saw this student, organize this and do that. Those are the kinds of examples that will take a regular nomination letter into a super terrific nomination letter that we can actually truly see who you are as a person, as an applicant.
Yeah, definitely. And then just kind of moving into our last section here. So it's the application and selection process. So what is the deadline to apply for the Pathways to Medicine Scholarship Program? And when will students hear back about this award? So you said that there was multiple stages. Probably when will students hear back about that first stage?
Absolutely. So the first deadline is March 1st, so applying to the University of Calgary and the program itself. So within the preliminary application, we usually give about 3 to 4 weeks for the preliminary application. And then once we go through the entire process, we keep students up to date. So just know that we'll send you emails. Just please check your emails, and then you'll stay up to date on what's happening, the next round. And usually we'll let students know by mid-June at the latest that what the decision is and who the 5 applicants are for Pathways to Medicine that year.
Okay, awesome, perfect.
Yeah.
And then what are the expectations for students who are in this program as they work towards graduation from their undergraduate program?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, number one, you are a pre-med student, right? So anything that you would be doing as a regular applicant is expected of you. So high grades, extracurricular activities, research if that's something that a student wants to do, which most students do. And then other than that, when it comes to pathways, we do meet 2 to 3 times a month, like we mentioned before. So joining at minimum 80% of those meetings or workshops, that's what we need to do. You're going to be meeting with the academic lead, Dr. James Fuel, once a semester, and just being cordial and just doing everything you would do as a pre-med student. There's not really any difference between a regular pre-med student and a pathway student, other than there's support systems there for the enrichment program. I think that's a really big thing that students often don't realize, that we're not letting you just get into medical school. You need to meet the requirements of the GPA, extracurriculars, everything as a regular pre-med student to get into medical school.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think that's all we have for you today. So thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm sure students are really going to love listening to this one.
So I just want to tell all students listening that university is not something that you just complete. It's truly a journey. You never know what experience you're going to have that's going to open doors for you somewhere else, whether that's, studying abroad or working abroad, or, the opportunities are endless. And so I like to say that university is truly a journey that is to be discovered, not just completed. And so the nice thing about Pathways, again, is that we really do help you break down those societal or financial barriers to reach your goals and dreams. And I really hope that if any student out there is listening, please do apply for Pathways. Send me an email. Let's set up a Zoom call for 30 minutes if you have any questions about the University of Calgary's, Pathways to Medicine program. And if you do want to learn a little bit more about med school, they're always welcome to speak with prospective students as well. So please, please, please talk to us. I know it's daunting, it's overwhelming, but we can definitely break down the steps to help you get there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Choose UCalgary podcast. If you have any questions about the Pathways to Medicine program, you can get in contact with Zainab at the email in the show notes. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at choose.ucalgary and on Facebook at the University of Calgary Future Students. As always, DM us if you have any questions.